Okay, Stephen, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. It's 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, I want to apologize for having to push this one day, but I had a emergency root canal, and I was definitely not available to. Hey, Chris, can you hear me? Chris just joined us. Okay. So I want to take this opportunity to welcome everybody to the course. It is a 6-week course. It will go by fast. Most of you have taken courses with Southwestern before. I'm sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't realize my mic was on.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you see my?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. Perfect. Welcome, Chris. We only have another person joining us, Stephen, in the course. I started off by apologizing for pushing this one day at the last minute, but I had a root canal done that was not pretty. Anyway, want to go over the course expectations for this course. Chris, are you running a Mac or a PC?
I'm on a PC.
Okay. So I run off of a Mac, but I run Windows and a SQL or Windows and a VM. But if you're running a Mac, for those who haven't joined us that have a Mac, you can complete all the lessons for this course by running, it's called SQLPro.com. You'll be able to complete the assignments with SQLPro.com. Let me just start off by, well, how do you submit your assignments in your labs? Well, with SQL, you can, SQL Server Express 2014, you can zip up your database and answer the questions to the exercise. I think I had that file open. So run your code on SQL, zip up your SQL database, and post your Word document with your answers to questions, and submit your database. So what I will do is I go in and I will run your database from my SQL environment and check to make sure that you got the code right and the SQL statement's correct. It's a little tricky with SQL Pro, but it is doable. But if you're using SQL Express, you can zip up your 2014. You can zip up your file, post that along with your Word document with the answers to the questions. That's how you get credit for the. That's how you get credit for the questions, and that's how you get credit for that. I know that you know the right statements to write, and it does actually run in your SQL environment. So that's just how you submit the exercises. You'll have in those exercises, I zipped up the files for, and I posted that zipped up file in the announcements section. That's all the databases. You don't have to go in and recreate the databases. So hang on one second. You don't have to go in and recreate the databases. They're all there for you in that zipped up file that I put in the announcements section. And I've linked those. If you weren't able to unzip those, let me know, and I'll send them to you separate correspondence via email. So let's talk about a little bit about discussions. In order to get full credit for each week's discussion, you have to post a quality discussion post, and you have to respond to at least 2 other students with a quality post. And what I mean by a quality post is I don't count numbers or letters or words, but what I look at that you submitted a quality post and that you cite it and any references that you may or may not have used in your discussion post or in your response. So that's what I look at for as far as a discussion response and a discussion post. So to get full credit, you got to send the post the initial discussion and then respond to at least 2 other students in the class. And that's what I look at each week. What else? So quality discussion post, quality responses is what I look at with any references that you may have utilized, listed and cited, especially in accordance with the APA format. If you don't understand the APA format, I recommend you go and take a look at a site. It's called the Purdue OWL. So it's a website about Purdue University. You can get the full code, you can get the full format for APA style formatting. If there's any papers that you have to be done or any written assignments for this course, make sure those are in the correct APA format. Okay, so I understand that some of you guys may or may not be deployed. Some of you guys are raising a family, you have a full-time job, and you're trying to complete your degree. I know what it's like. I did both of my master's degrees while serving in Iraq and Sarajevo, Bosnia. So I know what it takes, especially if you're deployed, to complete the online assignments. I understand that there's circumstances that come up, and if you need more time for an assignment, or you have a crisis or an emergency in the family, the big thing with me is I'm more than willing to work with you, but you have to communicate that to me either by email or by phone call. So if you feel like you're struggling on an assignment, or if you've got an emergency comes up in your family, or you're on deployment, whatever the reason is, I'm willing to work with you. Just shoot me an email or call my U.S. number. Like I said, I am in Germany. I'm 7 hours ahead of Central Standard Time. I won't pick up your phone call, but just leave a message on my phone. It doesn't cost you. It's like calling a local call for you guys, and it rings for me here in Germany, and I can listen to the recording and I can call you back because it only costs me 2 cents a minute to call you back. But just shoot me a message saying, hey, look, I got an issue this week. I'm be out on assignment, or I'm on. I'm working overtime. I need a little bit more time, and I'm willing to work with you. I'm not going to ding you for your grade if you ask me for more time. That's just not the way I operate. I operate like, hey, you had a crisis, you had a situation you had to deal with, and I'm willing to work with you to get your assignment. Now, with that said, if you can't get me your assignment by Tuesday of the following week, you will see a 0 on the grade book, because by course policy, I'm required to have all the assignments and labs and discussions graded by Tuesday of the following week. So if you haven't gotten me you talked to me and you needed some time to make up your assignment or finish your assignment, and Wednesday rolls around and you haven't submitted it yet, I still have to put a 0 in on that Tuesday. So you'll see that 0. Just shoot me a message, say, hey, look, I've submitted my assignments, and I'll go and I'll change your grade. But by school policy, I have to grade everyone's assignments and stuff by Tuesday, end of Tuesday. So anyway, that's a little bit about the grading, about the discussion post, about SQL. I've used numerous databases in my career, SQL being one of the most ones. I've taught an Oracle class, but I'll just be straightforward with you guys. Oracle is not my strong suit. I know SQL. I've done a little work with PHP and MySQL, but Oracle definitely is not my strong suit, and it is a database that's out there that is utilized a lot also. And I think Southwestern also teaches the Oracle class. So let's go over this Unit 1's first week's objectives. As you can see on my screen, and in your course, this first week we are looking at demonstrating understanding of the terms entity, attributes, relationship, relational databases. We're going to describe and apply the concepts of functional dependence on what is a primary key. That's a thing there too. For this first week is knowing what a primary key is. We're going to design a database and represent the design with an entity relationship diagram. And we're going to convert an unnormalized relation to first norm, and then convert tables from first norm form to second norm form, and second norm form to third norm form. So I'm just going to jump right into the PowerPoints. One thing, the way I learn might be different the way you guys learn, but I read the chapters in the book, and then I review the PowerPoints, and then I attempt the lessons or the assignment or the discussions. That's just the way that I learn. I know people learn differently, but I would definitely encourage you to read the chapters in the book for each unit and review the PowerPoints. And usually my discussions on Thursday nights will be over that week's reading assignments and preparation activities. So usually what I'll do is on Thursdays, I will field any questions and I will review the PowerPoint. So let me jump right into chapter 1. Pull this up right here. And if I'm going too fast, guys, just don't hesitate to send something in the chat. Okay. So, so the objectives of, okay. Chapter 1 is it's an introduction to TAL distributors, the Colonial Adventures Tours, and the Solarius Condominium Group databases. So this is a company that uses the database for many of the this TAL distributors is a database. It's a company whose database is used as the basis for many of the examples throughout the text. The Colonial Adventures Tours, it's a company whose database is used as a case that runs throughout the text, and so is Solarius Condominium Group. Chris and Stephen, were you guys able to unzip the databases?
Now, see, that's where I was having an issue for the past couple of days. So when I went to download the SQL server, I downloaded it. There was about 10 different versions you could download, obviously. But anytime I try to open an SQL server, it doesn't pop up like any of the videos that I've seen, like a base program, almost like I don't think I have it fully set up right. So I'm probably not the one to ask if it was okay to unzip.
Okay. Are you trying to open it from the start menu?
Yeah, which is probably incorrect.
Yeah. Chris, I'll shoot you a how-to guide on how to open that up.
Yeah, that would definitely be appreciated. I just downloaded another version that I hadn't installed yet because I figured maybe I downloaded the wrong thing.
But you might need to uninstall that previous version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Yeah. I'll get you a how-to guide to how to. I don't think it's in our. I'm gonna exit out of this. Yeah, I don't think that's in our. Because it just gives a download and install Server Express 2014, but it doesn't provide. The curriculum does not provide a how to open that up and how to connect to that. So let me get you guys. I'll post it in the announcements section as a how-to guide on how to. Okay, once you've downloaded your SQL Server Express, how to open it and how to connect to a database.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, because I think I had done the one of the assignments on the Word doc that was provided where I just typed everything out, but I didn't have a way to actually test.
That's fine.
So, yeah,
I said I'll post that, but if you already wrote the SQL statements, just go ahead and submit that, Chris. And what I'll do is I will get you a how-to guide and make sure we can get you connected to SQL.
Awesome, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, you 100%. You probably got the SQL statement correct in your Word document, but you want to see how it runs in your SQL server.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
thanks.
Let's see here. Let me go back. Okay, these are just some required data for the sales rep, for customer data items. This is just about the towel distributor company. Some components of a sample order, the heading, the body, footer. I'm not going to read you guys these PowerPoints. That's kind of boring, but this is just describes the tables and the item numbers and the components of a line item in the towel distributor. And this is just a sample of a table. Another sample customer table. We'll run through these. These are just showing examples of tables that are in this database. Here's an alternative order table example. This is the example of the Colonial Adventures Tours database and the data and the forms. Guide number, last and first names. Again, a sample guide table for this travel database. Yeah, this first chapter is looking at the data and the tables and the fields for each one of the databases. This is the Somaris Condominium Group database. And again, you don't have to go in and recreate these databases. I've provided them for you. And just let me know if you haven't been able to unzip those databases. Okay, so this is just a quick summary of chapter 1. It went over the towel distributors database. It requires the rep, customer, items, orders, and order lines. Your Colonial Adventure Tours database requires guide, trip, customer, and reservations. Somaris Condominium Group requires condo owners, condo units, service categories, and service requests. So let's exit out of this chapter 1. That's all that chapter 1 pretty much covers is it describes the 3 databases you're going to be working with throughout the course. So in chapter 2, so the objectives of chapter 2 are to understand the terms entity, attribute, and relationship. Also to understand the terms relation, relational databases, And you're going to understand you should be able to understand the functional dependence, be able to identify when one column is functionally dependent on another. Key in any SQL database is the primary key, and you're going to need to understand the term primary key and identify primary keys in a table. You're going to design a database to a set of requirements. You're going to convert an unnormalized relation to first norm, and you're going to convert tables from first norm form to second norm. Excuse me. You're going to convert tables from second norm form to third normal form. And there is a fourth normal form too, but we won't get into it in this course. Database design is the process of determining the particular tables and columns that will compromise a database. And let me give a quick idea for you guys on how I use SQL databases. I work as a business process analyst, and I do a lot of data visualization. And what I do, I have a program called Tableau that I can connect SQL, Oracle, Excel spreadsheets into this program, and we analyze data for decision making. So the design of these databases that we do is really important because we want it. I work in the military intelligence community, and we do a lot of intel analysis, and we connected to multiple databases with this program, and we also use Microsoft BI Business Intelligence to do this also. But it's really important to have your databases set up correctly, connected to them, and making sure that you're pulling the correct queries in your program from this data. So that's how I use databases where I work at. I'm a U.S. contractor working for. I work for an organization called USSOCOM in Stuttgart, Germany. But that's how we look at data from this side. So it's really important about when you're doing your database design, thinking about how you or your customer is going to use this data when you're designing your databases. So it's important to understand the database concepts. It's also the importance of understanding the process of normalization. So database concepts: entity, attribute, relationships, functional dependence, primary key. So this is a relational database. It's a collection of tables. As we looked at in the TAL distributors database, we had rep table, we had customer table, we had orders table, items table, the order underscore line table. Entities, attributes, and relationships. Entity is like a noun. It's a person, place, or thing or event. Attribute is like an adjective or adverb, a property of an entity. Entity again is a person, place, thing, or event. And then you have relationship, which is the association between the entities. You have Okay, let's talk about relationships. So you have one-to-many relationships, which is one rep is related to many customers. It's really key too that you understand what one-to-many relationships are. And it's implemented by having a common column in two or more tables. So for example, rep underscore num is a column in the customer table and the rep table. You have repeating groups. As you can see here in this example of the orders, this is the table with the repeating groups. Entities, this is attributes and relationships continue, which is it's the orders table without repeating groups. So what is it? Relation is a two-dimensional table. Entries in the table are single valued. They have a distinct name. The columns, all values in that column are values of the same attribute. And the order of the columns is immaterial, and each row is distinct. The order of the rows is immaterial. This is just a Shorthand representations show tables and columns. Functional dependence. An attribute B is functionally dependent on another attribute or collection A if a value for A determines a single value for B at any one time. Functional determines B. You cannot determine from sample data, must know the user's policies. That's key to know. Primary keys. This is important for you guys to know. You'll hear it throughout the lessons. You'll see it throughout all the lessons. So a primary key is a unique identifier for a table. Column attribute A, or a collection of columns, is the primary key for a table relation, or if all columns in R are functionally dependent on A. No subcollection of the columns in A, assuming that A is a collection of columns and not just a single column, also has property 1. So what is a primary key? A primary key is a unique identifier for a table. A little bit more about database design. Given a set of requirements that the database must support. Again, in my career, database stuff that we look at Intel. We look at also networks and pull reports from different organizations and different data. So it's a given set of requirements that the database must support. So for one of my customers is our database must support a lot of Intel data. And its requirements gathered through a process known as systems analysis. We call it data analysis, but we look at systems analysis also. But most of our stuff is coming from different databases that either we produce or that other organizations produce. And some of it's from, actually, we pull stuff in from the internet too, on the unclassified side. Design method. This is just some examples of how designing what you're looking at when you want to design your database. Main thing is capture requirements. So I'm sure you guys know this at any given business. Sometimes when you have a customer, they tell you what their requirements are, and then they try and give you how they want you to solve their requirements. You get that a lot too in this line of business. These are just 6 design methods. You identify the attributes, identify the unique identifiers. You identify the functional dependencies. You use the functional dependencies to identify the tables by placing each attribute with the attribute or minimum combination of attributes on which its functionality dependent. This is for the TAL distributor. And the requirements: must store data about sales reps, customers, items, orders, and order lines. These are your requirements for the TAL distributors database. Normalization. So what is normalization? Normalization is you identify the existence of potential problems, provides a method for correcting problems. The goal here is to convert unnormalized relations, tables that contain repeating groups, into various types of normal forms. There's first norm, it's better than unnormalized. There's second normal known forms, better than 1NF, and then there's 3NF, better than 2NF. There is a 4NF, but we won't get into that. So first normal form is a relation is in first normal form if it does not contain any repeating groups. A relation, first normal form is a relation is in first normal form if it does not contain any repeating groups. This is an example of unnormalized order data, first normal form. This is data that's been converted to first normal form. So second normal form. So second normal form redundancy causes problems, updates anomalies, update inconsistent data, additions and deletions. This is an example, first normal form, but not in second normal form. And second normal form is a relation is in second normal form 2NF if it is in first NF and no non-key attribute is dependent on only a portion of the primary key. All non-key attributes are functionally dependent on the entire primary key. So this primary key will keep coming up in all your lessons. A 1NF relation with a primary key is a single field, is in second normal form automatically. This is the orders table. And this is coming from the TAL distributors database.
Hey, Terrell, if you don't mind, if I jump in real quick on that. So my understanding of that then is the only difference between first normal form and second normal form is you've identified a primary key.
That's correct, Chris.
Okay, thanks.
That's why it's very important to know upfront what your primary key is too. And make sure you identify that primary key. So this is a table that's in second normal form, but not in third normal form. So third normal form is a relation is in third normal form, 3NF, if it is in 2NF, and the only determinants it contains are candidate keys. So BCNF is the true name for this version of 3NF. We still call it 3NF. They decided to call it Boyce Codd normal form, BCNF, but it's the same thing as calling it 3NF. So these are diagrams for database design. It's graphical entity relationship diagram. If everybody's ever done any type of flow charting, this is pretty much, you can do this in a Visio or something. You can actually do it in PowerPoint too. This is just a database design diagram. This is for the TAL distributors. Okay, a summary, we defined an entity, an attribute, a relationship. We defined what a relation is. We looked at the functional dependence, and we defined a primary key, and we looked at database design methods. So for this first week, it's key to know what is an entity, what is an attribute, what is a relationship, the definition of relation, functional dependencies, and key here is the primary key and database design method. We also looked at normalization. We looked at unnormalized repeating groups. We looked at first norm form, second norm form, and as Chris pointed out, second normal form is that you have identified a primary key. Third normal form, which is 3NF, it's also called BCNF, but we just call it 3NF. And then we looked at entity relationship diagrams in the ER diagram. And basically that's a flow chart of your database design. So let me exit out of here. Okay, so each week I'm going to try and keep this to 30 minutes each week. Again, I think Thursday works better than a Friday night because, 6 o'clock on a Friday night is not the best time for you guys, especially if you're catching dinner but I'm looking to hold these on Thursday nights and keep them down to about a 30-minute time frame. Because I'm not sure about you guys, but I I get lost in some kind of meetings to go to if it goes longer than 30 minutes or longer than an hour. But that doesn't mean that if you have any questions, I'll field any questions. I kind of use this time too as office hours to field any questions. Oh, and that reminds me. So you'll see on in your class site, the class question board, feel free to post your questions that you may have about the class, about the content, about the weekly assignments, because you may have another student in the course that has the exact same question and may provide the answer for you. I look at that on a weekly basis, or weekly. I'll look at it on a daily basis, and I try and get an answer. If your question has not been answered in the question board, I'll provide an answer for you. But that doesn't mean you can't shoot me an email or give me a call. I'll respond to your emails. Like I said, I'm 7 hours ahead of Central Standard Time. And so if you submit me a question tonight, you'll have an answer when you wake up the following day to your question or to your email. Please don't hesitate to give me a call if you have a question too. You can use all three avenues, and I'll get you an answer. I'd like to be proactive on providing you guys with an answer, because this is unlike a brick and mortar class. It's an online class, but it's like raising your hand when you ask a question. So I like to get an answer to you as soon as I can. So that pretty much covers this week's assignments. Each week you're going to have a unit one, you're going to have a discussion. You'll see the graded work that's due for the week. Unit one discussion, the exercises, and the Colonial Avenue tours exercises is due on Sunday. And all the Sundays, any lab or exercise is usually due on by 11:59 on that Sunday. Again, if you run into a jam during the week, you need some more time, just shoot me, or emergency comes up, just shoot me a message. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to ding you. If you send a message, hey, look, I need some more time, or I'm just not getting it, I'm not going to ding you on your grade, just because you communicate to me that you need a little bit more time, a little bit more help. So I'm now going to throw it out for questions. So Chris, what I owe you and I owe the class is a how-to guide on how to unzip that right version of the SQL Server database and how to connect to a SQL database, and I'll get that to you. Should be in the announcement sections by tomorrow evening, so I'll get that to you so you can get that connected.
I appreciate it, Professor.
Yeah. Stephen, did you have any questions? Okay, I see, Stephen, in your chat that you said, okay, you downloaded all the items and been prompted for the server, and you can't find it. Okay. Okay. Let me get that to you guys. Yeah, I have a how-to guide. I'll post in the announcements section, and when I post this recording, also I'll post it in there also on how to connect. You're being prompted for the server. Okay. Okay. And Stephen, you said you're running PC, right? Yep. Yep. There you are. Okay. Okay. That's all I have for you guys tonight. I think, and like I said, don't hesitate. This is the first week. Don't hesitate to shoot me an email or a phone call or post a question in the class question board, and I'll get your response. And I owe you guys the how-to guide, how to connect to that server that you've installed. Okay.
All right, thanks.
I'm gonna close this out unless anybody else has any other questions.
No, thank you.
All right. Have a good weekend.
Thanks. Bye.